a lot to unpack about fat phobia. Fat phobia, or fat stigma, it doesn't just happen. It's a consequence of a narcissistic cultural belief system that assumes fatter people are more inferior to thinner people. I call this thin supremacy. I wrote a book about it. When someone is treated derogatorily because of their weight, that results in a trigger to survival mechanisms. Quote at the bottom, "Today we know the stress associated with stigma and shame regarding one's weight increases CV active protein levels, blood pressure, cortisol levels, and oxidative stress. Among other things, this stress response increases susceptibility to fat gain even when food isn't eaten to excess." The more the person who is being treated poorly believes in what they're being judged by, the more intense their survival mechanisms are triggered. In short, if you believe the stigma, you are more likely to be inflamed and you are more likely to have fight or flight problems, especially if it's chronic over long periods of time. What's really fucked up is when people suggest that you lose weight for health. The thought alone is arguably unhealthy. In conclusion, we need to dismantle this narcissistic belief system that says that thin people are superior to fat.
I can't tell you how long I laughed when this woman pulled out her own book to promote in this video. A lot of fat activists have their own books or courses or whatever, but they're usually not this blatant about their motives like this woman. And yeah, if anyone deals with the effects of social stigmas that cause problems with living their everyday lives, it's obviously unhealthy. But then she goes on to say, the thought that losing weight can be healthy alone is arguably unhealthy. Does she also argue that the very thought of gaining weight is arguably unhealthy? Honestly, she would probably tell me to go read her book, because I doubt she can argue, and profit seems to be the only reason a book this stupid would be made.
Oh, are you upset because a fat girl got attention?
This comment, for the people who didn't read it, said, "I do not agree with body shaming, but I also don't agree with the promotion of obesity. Of course we shouldn't name call, but obesity is a disease." This is one of the most well-worded summaries of how I and most people feel about the fat acceptance community. It said nothing mean or cruel, and yet this person turned around and basically said this person was a hater. But you know the old internet saying, if you don't want to engage with critical thought, call them a hater and condescend until your voice is too grating for any of the dissenters to listen to.
One thing I find really interesting is how people will have more empathy for the skinny version of you even if that version doesn't exist. And a lot of the time, they feel like they need to punish you for denying the skinny version of you the right to exist.
I have no idea what this person just said. I think they're saying that people are nicer to skinny people because they're mad at fat people for not being skinnier, even though fat people can't lose weight. But then there was the section about skinny version of you being more sympathetic than the fat version. I don't know. What I could think about it more and probably understand, but whatever they said, it could have been said in a much clearer way.
Body checking is still body checking regardless of if the person is fat or not. It's still body checking. And it's giving these like pro Anna Tumbler vibes and these like pro eating disorder vibes, but it's disguised as body positivity because it's a plus size person. It's still something that's going to encourage people in engaging in disordered eating. While you're not responsible for the well-being of anyone who watches or engages in your content, you should be more conscious of how your posts can be affecting other people who are watching it. And the bare minimum is knowing that body checking is not cool if you're going to be like a fat creator on this app.
I'm fully convinced that the body positivity movement has no idea what body checking is. Body checking is an obsessive action done by people with body dysmorphia or EDs that causes them to fixate on their perceived flaws. Someone on TikTok simply acknowledging their shape or certain parts of their bodies, like their small waists, in a positive or negative way is not automatically body checking. And bringing attention to certain parts of your body doesn't automatically lead people to become obsessive or check their body or become insecure. And them calling all these innocent videos body checking really cheapens the instances that actually are body checking.
I need to understand how fat phobia is ingrained in society, like how bad it is. Like you could be a fat person and have knowledge on health and nutrition, but no one will listen to you because of the fact that you're fat. Like I remember having this conversation in one of the classes for my master's program in nutrition, and how people will not listen to someone who is bigger because they're like, in their mind, they're like, well, obviously you're not taking your own advice. I remember that was one of the reasons that I didn't go into personal training, because I was a bigger person and I was like, well, I guess I have to lose weight for people to want to have to listen to me. Like, it affects so many decisions, and it affects the way that you like get information from people, because y'all assume that fat people can't be knowledgeable about something and still be healthy, especially in the health and fitness industry. Like, it happens with doctors as well. And it happens and it's worse when you're a woman or a person of color, or both.
The reason people don't trust a fat person talking about health and nutrition is because most of the time, they don't apply the knowledge they have to themselves. If you have a well-balanced diet, including proper portions, there's a slim chance you would be fat. It's the same reason I wouldn't trust any personal trainer that can't run a mile. Yeah, they probably could have gotten a degree in kinesiology or exercise science, but I, as a stranger, am less inclined to believe they actually know anything if they themselves aren't in good shape. It isn't exactly fair, but if you understand exercise science or dietetics, then you should also understand how important exercise and nutrition are for your own personal health as someone who is teaching about it. So if you don't practice what you preach.
Just a disclaimer, I'm going to be talking about eating disorders, weight loss, and fat phobia in this video, so if that is not sitting right with you, please just keep scrolling. And please do not feel the need to like give me suggestions or trying to help me through this situation. I have a support team, I'm fine. Honestly, it'd make me more upset if you tried that. Just, if you want to leave a positive comment, that's fine, but keep it to that, please. So for the last 6 months, I have been trying to find a surgeon who can do my tatas, who can give me a little bit of a breast aug, because dysphoria. And I finally found the surgeon that was in my insurance and, had availability, and I was like, great, this is going to be awesome. And I knew going into it, they're going to ask me to lose some weight because they're fat phobic, and I never have seen a fat person getting a breast aug in my life. So I was just like, okay, they're going to want me to lose weight. I know that. I did not expect them to ask me to lose 60 pounds. 60 fucking pounds. One, they went off the BMI, which I was like, sir, I literally am a trans woman. My body does not fit into the BMI. Hormones has changed how my body gains and loses weight. And so I don't fit in the male category or the female category. I'm literally just in between. That's another story for another time, because we know the BMI is racist and transphobic. But yeah, essentially they said they would not operate on me until I lost all the weight. And I was like, okay, so I just have to miraculously lose 60 pounds, which will take me how fucking long? And the suggestions that they gave me were either A, intermittent fasting, so starving myself, B, doing an extreme diet to lose all the weight, which will probably ultimately have me gain all that weight back post-surgery, which makes no sense to me. And you want another last suggestion to me? Getting gastric bypass surgery, where they literally make your stomach smaller. What the I'm just I'm making this video because I just really want everyone to understand that not only is trans healthcare hard to access in fucking general for any trans person, but if you are a person of color, if you're a trans person of color, or you are a fat trans person like me, nearly impossible. Nearly fucking impossible. And it would make sense to me if it was because of the health risks and why they want me to lose weight, due to recovery and making sure I had a good recovery, making sure I don't have any complications during surgery. But they never took a blood test. They never saw my levels. They don't know my actual health. They're only going off of weight. And I'm just these are the barriers that we as trans people face when trying to access healthcare. That's why I fucking hate trans meds who say, you're not trans unless you medically transition. How do you think we're supposed to get these healthcare? How are we supposed to medically transition in the first place? Especially when doctors don't want to give us access to this because they're either fatphobic, racist, or transphobic, or all of the above. This is why intersectionality is important.
First of all, this woman said that the BMI doesn't apply to her because she's transgender, but bodies are bodies. If you're a man, woman, non-binary, being significantly overweight is unhealthy. When you transition, your body doesn't just morph into a new species that doesn't follow human rules, even with hormones. Also, a doctor telling you to intermittent fast is not telling you to starve yourself. You can starve yourself on literally any diet or eating schedule. And doctors are not fat phobic for acknowledging that having excess body fat is unhealthy or that being obese and going under anesthesia is risky. She said they didn't do any blood tests to see if she was unhealthy, but being obese itself is a risk factor. They don't need to do any blood work. this video was made in response to Rebel Wilson's weight loss comments, because of course it was. But mentioning that not all weight loss is healthy is also a horrible way of shutting down the argument that weight loss betters your health. Any changes someone makes to be healthier or better themselves can be taken to extremes. I could make it a goal to get better grades in school, but end up running myself into the ground because I never sleep and I'm constantly stressed. That's the extreme. Any health change can be done in an unhealthy way, but that's no excuse not to encourage people to do it.